All right. Shalom. Of course, I want to start off by giving all praise unto Yahweh, Bahashim Yahweh Shai, Yahweh, which is the name of the Most High, and Yahweh Shai, which is the name of the only begotten Son, who the world ignorantly calls Jesus Christ. And I just want to do a little quick hit, for lack of better words, because recently in one of my hangouts that I did, which is basically one of my live shows, we had one of the brothers on, our brother Ridge Napper, right? Which I like that brother. He's pretty cool, but we had a little disagreement, may I say, or a little beef, for lack of better words. We had a disagreement on the unclean foods. Okay, so I brought this up to him, and when I asked him about this, he was basically like, "Well, I don't know." It's like, "Well, you're wrong, but I don't know." It's like, okay. But as I said, this isn't about him, right? Go subscribe to that brother. I like that brother. He's very sincere. But this is just, dealing with the topic in general, right? Nothing to do with that brother. But I just wanted to address this, okay? Because, these guys will read this, Matthew the 15th chapter, and they'll go over the verse that says, it's not that which goes into your mouth that defiles a man. So that means that you can eat whatever food that you like. Okay, so I'm going to cut this. Okay, now how do you do that? Because according to the scriptures, you have to do what to understand it? According to Isaiah 28 verse 10, it says what? That you have to go precept upon precept, here a little and there a little, line upon line. That's how you understand the scriptures in the correct context, right? So, when you deal with Matthew the 15th chapter, the way you understand it, especially that verse that they deal with, you have to go a little above. Okay, you have to go a little bit above to understand the context of what the conversation was about. Okay, it wasn't talking about eating whatever type of, food or meat that you like. That wasn't the context of the conversation they were having. You know how you know that? Because you go up and look at this. Matthew chapter 15 and verse 1 says, "Then came to Yahushua scribes and Pharisees, which were of Jerusalem, saying, Why do thy disciples transgress the tradition of the elders? For they wash not their hands when they eat bread." Let's read that again. They said, "Why do thy disciples transgress the tradition of the elders? For they wash not their hands when they eat bread." Who is that referring to? That was referring to the apostles of Christ, right? They don't wash their hands before they eat. Okay? Now, if we go down to where Christ responded, okay, let's go down to the 17th verse. Okay, now we're going to understand what Christ was responding to. The whole context was not eating whatever food that you would like, but the context was not washing your hands before you eat food. Okay? Matthew 15 verse 17. "Do not ye yet understand that whatsoever entereth in the mouth goes into the belly and is cast out to the drought? But these things which proceed out of the mouth come forth from the heart, and they defile the man. For out of the heart proceedeth evil thoughts, murders, adulteries, fornications, thefts, false witness, and blasphemies. These are the things which defile a man. But to eat with unwashed hands defiles not a man." Right, so now we understand the context of what this is talking about. It's talking about eating without washing your hands. If, for example, if I work in the garden, right, which I've done this before, right, I've worked, out of my job, and then when lunchtime comes, I'll eat without washing my hands because I don't have access to clean running water, right? I don't have access to clean running water, so I'll eat without washing my hands, right? That doesn't defile a man, because what the germs that go in you, they get, processed through the body, right? As long as you have a strong immune system, right? But this is not talking about eating whatever food you would like. That's not what this is talking about, as I clearly have proven by giving by reading up in the verse. The Pharisees came in and said, "Why don't your apostles, wash their hands before they eat?" And Christ responded, right? Because, hey, look, the dirt doesn't defile you. That clearly is what this is saying here. This isn't saying eating whatever you want, because we went to the context and clearly have proven it. Okay, there's also another thing. Let's go to, bear with me a moment. Let's go to the book of Isaiah. This is another way to cut them. Okay, let's go to Isaiah chapter 66. And let's start at verse 15. Okay, the point is in verse 17. but I want to start a little bit above so you can get the context of what this is talking about. Okay? Isaiah chapter 66, verse 16. Bear with me a moment. Alright, excuse me about that. I had to pause it for a second there. But anyway, this is Isaiah, the 66th chapter. I'm going to start at the verse 15. The point is in verse 17. But to get the context, you want to start a little bit above. It says, "For behold, the Lord will come with fire, with his chariots like a whirlwind, to render his anger with fury, and his rebuke with flames of fire. For by fire and by his sword will the Lord plead with all flesh, and the slain of the Lord shall be many. They that," and here's the point, "they that sanctify themselves and purify themselves in the gardens behind one tree in the midst, eating swine's flesh, and the abomination, and the mouse, shall be consumed together, says the Lord." Right, so now we understand that those who are eating these abominable foods will be put to death upon the arrival of Christ. Okay, clearly this is what this is talking about, because if you start above, as I did, you can get the context of the entire line of reasoning, right? The entire text. You can get it in its context, right? So clearly, you know, this is a cut to those guys out there who teach that you can eat whatever type of foods that you would like to eat, right? Clearly it is a cut to such a teaching. And if that is not the case, well, then I would have to ask, dealing with this chapter, why does it say here that those who eat these type of foods are going to be punished when the Lord returns? Okay, so clearly, you know, hey, this was a spiritual KO. That's all I'm going to say, man. Somebody called it Ambalam, because Christianity, as usual, got laid out. Inside joke. But yeah, man, you know, pretty much that's going to be the video there. Just a little quick hit, you know, to combat this hypocrisy, right, that the church is out here, you know, promoting to the people, man. You know, anyway, you know, with that being said, you know, all praise to Yahweh and the Son Yahweh Shai. And I'm going to say shalom.